Welcome back, everybody, to Hometown Hustle, episode 11. Today, we sat down with Lowell Gibson of Nice Badge.
Yeah, man, what an awesome episode I think this is going to be for you guys. I mean, just a lot of just business tips and tricks here.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. No, it was very good, very entertaining, great history.
Yeah, this is the backstory. I mean, growing up in Japan, just kind of getting that mindset from that culture and stuff is just really cool. I really like that one. So
yeah, that was a great episode. Yeah, you guys are going to enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, cool. Tune in. Lowell Gibson coming your way.
Welcome to the Hometown Hustle, a podcast showcasing small business owners and leaders who are making an impact here in the Rogue Valley. Come join us as we go one-on-one with some of the most inspiring people that call Southern Oregon their home. Now, here's your hosts, Daniel Buffano and Michael O'Coin.
Mr. Lowell Gibson, how are you?
I'm good, Daniel.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. No, it's you and I have known each other for quite a while since my days at the club.
Right, been a while.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I mean, all these years in business in Grants Pass, being involved in real estate, it wasn't until recently that we really started talking a lot more. So I just think it's
been great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. No, I just admired you from not terribly afar, but from afar. So just cool business. Sorry.
Briefly, just real quickly, between the two of you, are there any boards in town that you don't sit on?
Yes, there's several of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, Daniel's the new up and coming mover and shaker.
Good grief.
I'm kind of the has-been. I'm starting to drop off. So we got to step aside and let the young people take over. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, me and Lawton, I guess.
You're right.
So,
right. Absolutely.
So funny story. We didn't talk about this last week with him, but so I had a friend of mine in town reach out to me, and normally you don't know about these things, but she says, hey, I'm going to nominate you for this Rising Star Award.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, like, sure, and she just wanted to ask me all these questions about like what I'm involved in and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I appreciate that, And then Lawton calls me a couple weeks later. He goes, hey, guess what? He's like, I just found out. Josie just called me. I got selected as the Rising Star recipient award.
Ouch, that hurts.
I'm like, oh.
Next year. Yeah. Next year.
Yeah, but he's my good buddy, so I was pretty happy. It's just pretty hilarious, and so I just thought that was pretty fun. So
that's funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were that guy, huh? You were on every board in town, pretty much. And
it felt like it,
Yeah.
And it goes back 17 years in, chamber president and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And, when there's, that kind of momentum and, people ask you to be on the boards, sometimes you step up and you do that. And then when I added up the hours, it was like 20 hours a week for all these boards, committees, extracurricular activities. So then I started tapering off as, the years went on. But yeah, it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You're out there, you're meeting people, you're networking. I think you're doing some good for the community, the businesses, economic development. So I enjoyed it. As I get a little older, I don't quite have the stamina or energy to keep that pace up, but I'm sure you do. So
sometimes I
welcome
question
aboard.
That. Yeah. So just real quick, for those who don't know you, you are the owner of Nice Badge, which is a manufacturing company located here in Grants Pass.
Yes.
Focused on making primarily name badges.
Correct.
Right?
Typically 80% of our sales is name badges.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you're doing business globally or?
Mostly nationwide. We do some in other countries, islands where different places, Germany, Japan, Canada, but mostly in the U.S.
Yeah. And who are your, I know the answer to this question, which is why I'm asking it, but who are your primary customers? Like who requests name badges the most?
So I track the different sectors and types of businesses, and by location, by sector, just kind of helps us market. And interesting, the top industry that we cater to is this might surprise you, is the grocery store industry.
Yeah, see, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And it's mainly because years ago, we had Safeway nationwide, and then they were acquired by Albertsons. So we were able, as the little fish, to gobble up the rest of the Albertsons empire. And they have I think 17 different logos or brands. So we do all those nationwide. And then we have a lot of other chains of grocery stores, not quite as big that we do. So that is our number one industry. Number two would be real estate.
Yeah. And you've admitted to me before that real estate agents have probably the most glamorous or glitzy badges around. Yeah.
Okay, so funny story. There's a large real estate franchise that I used to go to the shows every year. And we always, the more expensive badges we could come up with, they would buy. So then it's like, where does this end? When I started 22 years ago, if I sold a badge for $6.95 with all the bells and whistles, I was doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. Every time we started upgrading, people would buy. So then it was like, okay, how far can we take this? We started doing mother of pearl, carbon fiber, precious metals. And then it's like I always had this goal to have a $5,000 name badge. Uh-huh. Why? I don't know. I had heard a story about how Christie's, the auction house, had auctioned off a helicopter, and that they didn't plan on selling it, but it drew so much attention. So I thought, if I have a $5,000 badge, that will create a little buzz, So I made one. It has diamonds. There's like 70 diamonds on there, and it had a mother of pearl inlay and some kind of a metal frame. And so I give those away for a drawing. So we go to the show, people put their business cards in, and then we would give one of those away. Mm-hmm. And then I actually sold one.
Well,
one guy walks up, and these are these over-the-top realtors that, they do a good job of marketing themselves. Mm-hmm. They brand themselves. And so he bought one for his fiance.
For his fiance? So, a name badge for his fiance?
I think she might have taken the diamonds out and sold it, so, long story short, the realtors are the ones, because they do, they're their own brand. They do put the money, the $150 badges tend to go to them.
Yeah. Michael, we're not getting $5,000.
I don't have a dollar name badge right now, so it's okay. But no, that high net worth, those big real estate agents, unattainium. Mm-hmm. So like when they see something that's available but they can't buy, they want it. Sure. And quite frankly, you probably could have put 10 grand on there, and he would have bought it.
Right. It was just the point of buying it.
Buying it, yeah,
absolutely.
Unattainium.
What is it?
Unattainium.
Unattainium. Okay.
It's like a disease.
Have to steal that one.
Yeah.
How do you get that?
When I worked in Las Vegas at Serendipity, which is like a dessert place, they're famous. They're famous.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're famous for.
We're just making up words today.
We are. What did you call that? Unattainium. Yeah. No, this restaurant that I worked at, they were famous for their desserts, and I don't think they exist anymore, but they had the world record for the most expensive dessert
with the
available.
Gold flakes.
Yeah, gold flakes. It was called the Golden Opulence Sundae. So it came in actually like a gold sundae dish and with gold spoons, and it was ice cream and exotic fruit, prickly pears and things like that. Sure. And then they would paint it with the the gold flakes and the gold spray paint and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool.
Again.
Unattainium.
That happens. It's a condition. So no, I don't know. Maybe a $10,000 name badge. I can come up with that soon, but I got to work on that.
That's pretty funny. So, so you were born in Grants Pass.
I was,
right, and then you spent some time in Japan.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
When I was 3, my dad was a pastor and decided to become missionaries to Japan. So my brother was 5, I was 3. The 4 of us went over, and this is in 1967. And so I spent the next 14 years growing up as a Japanese boy. I didn't look like them, but I went to kindergarten, grade school, junior high in the Japanese school system. At the same time, I did correspondence course through the American schools. My parents wanted to make sure that I could get back here and function. So, I forget about that sometimes, and then I look back and think, wow, that was quite the unusual upbringing. But I loved it. So many good things from it.
When was that?
67 when I came back.
No, when you were there.
Yeah, 67 until 14 years. So 81.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I
didn't expect math questions.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is a quiz, Lowell. Did you know?
There will be a test afterwards.
There will be a test. Yeah, that's not what it said on the interview form. So he's No, I went to Japan a couple years ago with my wife and her sister, my sister-in-law, and it was what a beautiful place. Just incredibly clean. Yeah. Just people were super nice. Right. Was it like that in the 60s too?
And probably more so. I mean, I went back to visit, maybe it's been 30 years, but it had changed a little bit. But Japan is an amazing country. It's been there for, thousands of years as a nation. Their culture is, people are fascinated by it, and they should be. The food, the language, the people, the cultures, everything that Japan is very fascinating. Yeah. And I feel honored and privileged to grow up over there.
Yeah. No, I had a great time. I thought it was awesome. And you've been there too?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in Guam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
I think it's good, for kids to grow up in foreign countries. You realize that the U.S. isn't the only location on this planet. So
exactly.
Sometimes,
especially Oregon,
right?
Grants Pass,
right.
Seriously, yeah.
I've talked to grown adults who've never left Grants Pass.
Right.
I mean, not even Medford.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, it's like, okay, but I think travel and especially international travel is huge for young adults.
Yeah. Do you speak Japanese?
I do. I do. And at one point, I spoke Japanese much better than I did English because all my friends were Japanese. There was no other Americans around. And my parents were very concerned because we were coming back to the U.S. for a short time. And, when I was little, they would speak to me in English and I would respond in Japanese. So they were concerned. And my accent was terrible, when I first came back to visit. In Japan, they don't have, in Japanese, I should say, they don't have the intonation that we do in English. In fact, they use words. They change words to change the meaning. In English, we would say, I think that's a good idea, or I think that's a good idea, or I think that's a good idea. It changes the meaning by the intonation. They don't do that. So when they speak, there's no ups and downs, and it's just the words, like cha 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 cha. So when I came over here, that's how I spoke English. People could not understand me. They don't know what I'm saying. They're like, what accent is that? And I would say it's Japan. So it took a while for me to move my lips, to enunciate so that people could actually understand me. And I tended to use a lot of Japanese words that my brother and I would use because there's no English American words. So it took a while to kind of clean my act up on how to speak American.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm there, but I think I made progress.
Yeah. No, you definitely have an interesting way about how you speak.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's related or
people said that. Well, even recently they say, well, what kind of accent is that? It's like I don't know, Southern Oregon.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Almost 20 years in Guam. It took me a while for me to break my accent, and then it's weird. Like I'll be chatting with somebody from the island, school, whatnot, on like Facebook or something, or text message, and like my accent will start to come back.
Really?
Even I'm not physically talking with them, but just like I start to hear it, and it's like, oh, whoa.
I used to, dream and think in Japanese. And then as I became more Americanized, that kind of went away. But occasionally, if I do talk to some Japanese friends and, I'm using Japanese, it starts to come back. It's a little bit rusty at first, but half hour or so, then I start to, I don't know if I'm fully thinking in Japanese, but it definitely, kind of transitions a little bit. So, it's interesting.
It is.
They say once you're bilingual, you can become trilingual
very easily.
Much easier.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to prove that. I've tried.
Yeah. That's cool.
Japanese is a very cool language, though.
It is.
Yeah, even over in Guam, we are, like here, your second language you taught is Spanish typically, or French. And in Guam, it was all Japanese. Like the second language we learned was Japanese.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It was such a heavy tourism island for Japan. Right. So that was our main source of income over there, was Japanese tourism. Wow. So
it's a tough language to learn. For me, it wasn't. I was 3. You're immersed in it. But most missionaries that go over there, it takes years to function, speaking the language. It's a tough one, especially if you want to learn how to write 4 different alphabets. It's tough.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Is that where you learned karate too?
I did. At 9, I started karate. It's still hard for me to say the words incorrectly so people understand it.
Sorry, karate.
No. But then I sound like I'm a little pompous if I say it correctly. But I did that at 9, and I think around I'm sorry, judo at 9 and then karate at 15. So I did both. Judo favors those who are stouter, shorter legs, skinny, longer arms. So the karate worked better for me, but I loved it. Did it for years.
Do you still participate or partake in it?
I haven't for over 10 years. I blew an ACL out as I was sparring, had it fixed, blew it out again. So my doctor says, you're not getting any younger. I think it's time you kind of put up your gi.
Writings on the wall.
Yeah. So I wish I could.
Yeah.
Because I thoroughly enjoy it. A lot of people don't understand that, like MMA. How can you beat people up? But there's no animosity. There's no anger. You're just competing like racquetball or anything else. You just happen to break bones occasionally. So.
Yeah. No, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the thing you wrote down in that thing most people don't know about you.
Yeah. My younger years.
Your younger years.
Wasn't there something else on there?
Do you remember what it is?
It might have been a late evening. I don't know if I put that down.
Let's see here. I forget what it was. There was.
It's
something
not
else
as
on
cool
there.
as martial arts.
Oh, you know exactly what it is.
I think
All
I
right.
put two things down.
Yeah, you did. In fact, because we're here, I need to see this.
No.
Come on, Lowell.
I cannot.
I'm gonna blow you up on the internet. You wrote it on.
I know.
You wrote it on the
This will be
deal.
my downfall.
Oh, you know what? Hey, what's better is that we'll have him do it in the intro video at the end.
No.
Come on, Lowell. I gotta see this.
I gotta admit, over years, because when I was doing this and I was younger, it wasn't that cool of a thing to be doing. Now, because of some big stars making it big doing it, then it's more accepted. But I still am not ready to venture into that.
You don't need to venture into it. I just want you to like introduce yourself and say hi, Daniel and Michael, or come on.
I refuse.
You refuse to?
Yes.
All right. Well, for everybody that doesn't know what we're talking about and who's listening to this, Mr. Lowell Gibson says he's a ventriloquist. So.
From a young age, and I did it through my adult. My kids used to be entertained, their friends, and I do it at Sunday school, day of vacation, Bible school. Yeah, and I did it for years, and I do enjoy doing it. I just, I haven't done it for a while, and
you won't do it for 23 listeners?
No,
23 listeners.
Not even for 23. No. Someday, if I have my ventriloquist dummy, it's not a doll. I don't play with dolls. And maybe, and there's kids in front of me. Maybe I would do it.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Sorry.
Okay. He set the stage.
He did.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
my uncle who's passed away was probably my biggest fan, and he used to run Master Brand, and so he brought me in front of all of his employees 20 years ago, so I could do my little shtick with my ventriloquist dummy. So, I'm hoping people have forgotten that by now, and nobody was taking video at the time. So.
Well, we're definitely recording, so you're not. Yeah, if you do it, you're not going to get away with it. It's going to be all over the internet.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's too bad. I was really looking forward to that. So.
I know. Right? Okay. Well, that's it, guys. We'll see you later.
Right. I think that was a typo. I think I meant to say something else.
Yeah. I'll ask Melissa, see if she has any footage of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that you do for her. She has.
Right.
Yeah.
Her kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been very careful not to be recorded on that. So.
I think that's rad. What a skill that nobody has. I mean, it's a
and entertaining, which I'm not an entertainer, but getting in front of people, and I at times a couple thousand people, and you're making them laugh. And so I understand the allure of being a comedian or an entertainer. Mm-hmm. That was just a tiny part of my life, but it is fun. It is fascinating to get up there. And it's easier when you have, kind of a sidekick. It's not just you. Yeah. It feels like, you got your little prop there. So that helps. But
have you seen the girl on American Idol who sings full songs? Like, no? Oh man. I'll have
she's
to send
young
it
too.
to you. Yeah. She's like a kid.
Yeah.
She's like 13 or something like that.
With a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And she'll sing full on songs with her dummy.
Yeah.
And
you can't tell.
I mean, you can see her throat going up and down,
right.
but it's,
They have gotten so good, over the years, with is it Jeff Durham and others. It's amazing how good they are.
I'll text you a clip. I'll send you a YouTube link. She's super impressive, and she's a great singer like that too. Like it's not bad singing.
Oh no, she's hitting like big notes, like Barbara Streisand type songs. Yeah.
It's like she's better than most people, like 95% of the people just regular sing.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll work on my comeback.
Okay, sounds good. Episode 2 with Lowell Gibson. Yeah. All right. All right. So cool. Let's get back. Got off.
It's okay. That's okay.
That's what this is about. So
he's back from Japan. Where do you go from there?
Let's see. Came back to Grants Pass. Went to Hidden Valley, Grants Pass High, and then Hidden Valley. Went to RCC for a year. Decided to go up to Salem to Western Baptist College, which now is Corbin University. And I went there. I was cooking full time because I'm a poor missionary boy. My parents didn't have any money, so I'm trying to pay my way through. I'm cooking at a restaurant up there, 40 hours a week, trying to take a full load. Didn't work out that well. Realized that I love business. I love the restaurant work. So I pursued that, and at 19 years old, which I don't know who would, but the owners of this restaurant chain gave me the management position for a restaurant up in Tigard with 30 employees. So that was my start into business.
19 years old.
19, I know.
Yeah.
I was married at the time and, starting life young. I growing up in Japan, I read a lot of books. And people know Horatio Alger, a lot of the rags to riches stories. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a businessman. That was my dream. And then somewhere along the line, I said, by the time I'm 25, which, not that bright. So,
that's also like a really sought after thing in Japanese culture, right? To be a businessman.
Yeah. Over there, it's hard. If you are born into a certain family, you have to kind of stay the trend. You can't jump into, if you go way back, it was the servants, the farmers, and then you have the samurai, the shogun, and then you had the royalty. A lot of that still applies. So to be a businessman over there was, it was a path that was not open for everybody, and it was quite sought after. For me, it was just, the fact that you can work hard. I had an immigrant mindset because I was raised in Japan. So I thought, you come to America, you can do anything you want. You work hard. You can make anything of yourself that you want. And I don't think a lot of people, my generation, felt that way as much as probably the previous generations. So I feel very fortunate that I had that influence from the books and my parents. So I came over here and I thought I just have to work really hard. And I did. I averaged 80 to 100-hour work weeks for the first 25 years. I can't do that anymore, but and so I worked hard in the restaurant business, and as a manager, I was putting in the hours and making very little money, but it was an opportunity, and I always thought, as long as I'm learning and getting this opportunity, then you keep working, the pay might come. So at 25, I bought my restaurant, and looking back. It's like, what an idiot. I thought I knew everything, because I'd been working hard. But the restaurant industry, as you know, as my good friend Dave Thomason knows, it is a difficult, the average profit margin is used to be 2.8%. I don't know if that's still the case. But, you sneeze and you lose money. I mean, you got food costs, which is, hard to control. Labor costs is tough. So, there I was, owning a restaurant at 25. Did that for 8 years. And, I always say I was the poorest restaurant owner around, because I'm working all the hours, but it's tough, Yeah. So, but I loved it. And then I decided to sell and get out of the restaurant business. And then, what would I do with my life at that point? So I sold insurance for a little bit, and nothing against the insurance industry, but, a little bit like real estate. It's a, tough industry. And I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the aspect of selling something to people that they have to have, and not that they really want to buy it. It's not like buying a car or even a house. You have to have it, so you buy it. So I got in the heating, cooling industry with my brother for a while. My mom had this business, this nice badge, used to be called Recognition Specialties. And she was saying, you should come buy my business. She was ready to retire, and this is in 2000. And I was up in Salem area, and I said, Mom, that's your thing. I'm doing this. But she finally convinced me to come check it out. So I did. I came down, I worked the business for a few months, decided this is great. It has everything that I like.
So your mom started Recognition Specialties?
She actually,
originally?
yeah, she bought it from a gentleman out in Weimar.
Okay.
And it was just in a trailer, teeny tiny business, one part-time employee. And so she bought that in 85.
Now, were they doing like name badges then, or were they doing like trophies and things like?
No, just name badges.
Yeah.
And, you know, back then the technology was antiquated. So it was a lot of labor, very slow. You know, it's called hot stamping. You don't engrave. You had to stamp it, put the little dies together, spell the name out, stamp it once, let it cool, do the next one.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what's really kind of funny is that my dad's in the movie industry now, but how he got introduced to computers, and he's like a major computer nerd now. You can take them apart and put them back together, and knows all the pieces, and like, you know, it's kind of like one of his little things. But how he got started was he was working in a bowling alley, like greasing lanes and setting pins and doing all that kind of stuff back in the 80s. And a friend of his owned a trophy business. You know, it's one of the guys who, you know, sets up the trophies at the bowling alley.
Right.
And that's how he got started learning computers, is because they got a software to start doing the engraving on the trophies. Probably similar to what your mom was doing back then.
Right.
So, yeah. So
Come a lot.
Yeah. So you bought Recognition Specialties from her.
Yeah, that was in 2000. She had taken it from really nothing to about a $500,000 a year business. Wow. And which, you know, I always say that was the hardest part. She says, you know, my part was harder, but, you know, growing a business is extremely difficult, especially a tiny business like that. So she had, I think, about 13 people, some part-time. And so she was ready to retire. And I wasn't sure if that was for me, but I worked it a little bit, decided it's got, you know, a product that you can sell. It's got, you know, customers that you can take care of, working with your suppliers, a lot of things that all businesses have. But the best thing coming from the restaurant industry was it wasn't geographically limited. You know, restaurants you draw from however many miles radius. In this, you know, new business, I could sell to anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Should I strive for that? So I worked it, decided this was great. I bought it from her in 2000. She retired, doesn't live too far from here, so I get to see her all the time. And so then it was, okay, how do I grow this business? To sell a name badge at the time, they're around $5. How do you market that nationwide, you know, without the capital to spend on marketing? And if you sell on like a house, you're selling $5, not $500,000. So, so it was tough, but we did it, and we found ways, word of mouth, taking good care of the customers, all that added up to growth. And for
nationally,
yeah, and of course back then I was really, really hungry and had to pay the bills. So I would try anything. You know, I was getting hold of customers, getting referrals, doing all the stuff that we learned in business. And we were growing at about 20% growth rate back then, which was pretty healthy. I mean, you feel 20%. And then in 06, maybe a little bit before that, but 06, I really started tapping into this new thing they had called e-commerce, you know, where you come up with a website. And, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm at home, you know, kind of like your dad, you're learning things because you have to. So I'm at home creating my website and slowly figuring out how to sell. Once we tapped into the pay-per-click side of things, the SEO, and then that it took off. Now we're growing close to 30% with all of that. So the business did grow tenfold, you know, over the years. And a lot of that was, well, most of it was just from the internet, being able to sell anywhere. And now I don't have to, you know, run TV ads. I can do the pay-per-clicks and get people to come. Once we get them, we retain them. Our retention level is extremely high. We have 40,000 business customers across the country. And so the other thing that I was heavily involved in back in my day was the lean or high performance. So if you can do something quicker, faster, more efficient, then you can probably make money off of it. So we're labor intensive, we're production. Figuring out a way to do it faster, quicker was most important. So we did. we ran a lot of procedures and processes. We started automating things. And so now we could sell an order of 1,000 badges, or we could sell 1,000 orders of one badge, and the kind of the assembly line process is the same, so it doesn't matter. Once we figured that kind of formula out, then we really started pushing it. So whether we're selling to a mom and pop store with 3 badges or Albertsons, it didn't matter. We can still process them. So that really helped. And right now we make about 5,000 badges a day.
Wow.
And it seems like a lot. And again, they're little things. We're selling little things, and we can't make a mistake. If I misspell your name on the name badge, you'll probably notice. So we have to make sure that everything is accurate. But again, a lot has changed because of technology over the years, through the online ordering web process. And nowadays this is commonplace. But when we started, it was a little bit on the newer side, where what you type in on the screen is what shows up on your badge. So we made it seamless. And again, in our world, which is a very antiquated industry, we've been behind the times over the years. For us to be able to do that was, kind of ahead of the others, and gave us a huge advantage. So no mistakes for the most part. You type it in, that's what it gets.
And you do all the manufacturing in-house?
We do.
Yeah.
That was also kind of the key to it. We control the quality. We control the production time. And a lot of the others, it used to be like 2 weeks, to order a badge. Well, we started doing originally the 3-day production time. Nowadays, it's about 24 hours. It goes in, it goes out. But again, a lot of that has to do with the equipment, the processes, the procedures,
raw materials.
Yeah, we've done well with the supply chain side on the materials. We usually keep enough stock, but even through this whole pandemic and the supply chain issues, we've actually done really well. A lot of our product comes from the U.S., so that helps.
Yeah.
And are you doing everything out of your office there on? Everything's out there, huh?
Yeah. So
it's Harbeck, right?
Yeah.
Harbeck.
Yeah.
And it's a tiny little place. A lot of people think it's a house,
Yeah.
And when I bought that, we were kind of busting at the seams. The equipment was bigger and stuff. And then in 2005, we were like, we have to build. And I never have. It's been 22 years, and I have yet to add on more space. And yet we're doing, like I said, 10 times the amount.
I can only imagine your equipment's getting smaller, though, right?
Equipment's getting the footprint of and then our processes, the lean that we put in has changed it a lot. But we're doing it with less people per badge than ever before, because my people are better, the processes are better, and we've just pulled it off. I still want to build, and I almost pulled the plug just recently, or pulled the trigger just recently to build, but costs have gone up, so putting it off a little bit longer.
Did you had a fire in 2020? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that kind of spur that a little bit, or was that?
Yeah, that was tough, because we lost our shed, and about half of the production area was taken out by the fire. Mm-hmm. So it's been a little over a year now, but for most of that time, my staff, my production people had to work out of half of the space they previously had. Previously, they were, pretty squashed in there. So here. And yet they did it. They pulled it off. I mean, it looked like, you walk in there, everybody's crammed in. There's wires running overhead, like an op center or military or something. And yet they pulled it off. They did an amazing job. We learned a lot from that, because we learned how to consolidate even more space, because we had to. And now that we're back, in the full amount of the building, they feel like they have more room than ever. Almost too much room. We joke about how they have to kind of hug the walls, because they're so used to being close to everybody that walking down the middle of the building is just uncomfortable. But
yeah, how cool! That's really exciting.
Yeah.
What do you think has been like the biggest key to your growth and expansion? Is it just?
I would say being hungry. Mm-hmm. Over the years, I've said that I don't ever want to get to a point where I'm not hungry. Mm-hmm. Hungry meaning, you have to work, you want to grow. When I first bought the business, some of the ladies who worked for me at the time, they were all ladies, so said, when are you going to be happy? When will you be happy? What, when you hit 1 million, when you hit 2 million? And it was kind of a strange question for me because it's like, I didn't know that there was this end goal. You continue to do what you do, you continue to grow, and that's the way we are wired. That's what we do in business typically. So I do, I being hungry all those years, originally I was hungry. I mean, it was like I was a poor businessman who was just struggling to pay the bills. So I had to work and I had to build the business. And, at certain times I got a little more comfortable, but I always want to have that hunger.
Yeah, but it's not hunger for more money. I mean, it's just hunger for success and growth. And I mean, that's really
not becoming complacent.
Right.
Yeah, right. And people don't understand that sometimes, because again, it's like, a greedy business owner.
Yeah.
Well, for me, success meant growing the business to take good care of my employees. And I have amazing employees who've been with me forever. And because of them, we've been able to grow. I want to create that place where I can pay them well, family wage jobs, where they can have a great work environment. That's what I want. You can't do that if you're not making money. And people sometimes put down or frown upon, profit. Well, if you're not making profit, you're not going to be in business.
Right.
You have to be profitable. That's why you work hard. That's why you grow. That's why you be hungry. And otherwise, retire, sell, move out, roll over. There's a lot of other options, but
that's why I mentioned that too, because it's like, I think that's a common misconception with that, with the hunger, is people think it's all about money, but I mean, there's so much more to it. Like successful people, they're not interested. I mean, Warren Buffett, I mean, how much more money do you need? Right. I mean, it's not like it is a desire to just be successful and to grow and to keep progressing. Yeah.
People do understand the satisfaction of a job well done, or you see your business grow, or you're able to pay your people more. There's a lot of, triggers that make you feel good about growth, about success. And not all of it is money. It takes money to do a lot of that. If I put a new building in, I'll feel really good because now my people have offices, they have a nice new building, and that takes money. So that would feel really good. It's not about money. It's about a lot of the results that come from success. Right. And
you have a just not your family intimately, but your employees.
Right.
I mean, you're supporting them.
Absolutely.
I mean, the business and whatnot, and they rely on you. And you take your foot off the gas, and everything starts to slow down.
Yeah, no, it is a responsibility that business owners have to make sure they take care of their people. The pandemic hits, and a lot of businesses had to shut down, and you see, the grief in these business owners as their employees suffer the most.
100%.
Yeah. So you want to avoid that, And so you have to grow, you have to be profitable in order to sustain and grow and do the things that you want for your people and your business and your community. A lot of business owners around here, as you know, are heavily involved in their communities. They do a lot of good things, a lot of donations. They can't do that if they're not profitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. We've talked about that at length on the podcast and just in general, is that there's just a ton of business people that are doing really great things with their profits. You know?
Absolutely.
And their time.
And they're good people, and they do that because not just to look good, but because they actually care. They care about the people and the community. And this is an amazing place to live because of that. A lot of good people.
I agree.
Yeah. One of your really good friends, like you mentioned before, is Dave Thomason, who owns Tap Rock and Elmer's and several other, restaurant businesses in town and in the state.
Right.
What about him inspires you? Because I know that he has kind of a,
he's in the restaurant business for starters. That's, I couldn't do what he did. And he has this, like I call him the monopoly man. He's got this empire. And, a lot of people might think, he got lucky or whatever, but he's extremely smart and he knows his industry. I mean, if you ask questions about, different chains in the country or trends, he knows it all. He researches it all the time. And that always, kind of strikes my chord and saying I need to do more of that in my industry, to do that research, to know what's going on. And so he's been, I think people would say, successful. And I think so. And it's because he's made smart decisions. He has a very uncanny ability to know when to buy and when to sell. and I respect that a lot.
Yeah. He's was one of the first people that I met here when I was working at the club, and he's just always been like a really nice guy. And I didn't really know much about him at that point because I was new in town. You know, Jesse, our mutual friend, told us, "Oh yeah, he owns Tap Rock and this and that." I'm like, "Oh okay," you know, like, and then you know, come to find out after I kind of get into real estate and start realizing like who he is, you know, it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's a good dude. So, you also have a pretty tight circle of trust, or like a inner circle. Talk about that and why that's important to you too.
I think you work hard, you play hard, and some people forget that. And for me, that's been the saving grace over the years, because I did work hard, a lot of hours. But you got to wind down. You got to have something to do, whether it be trips or working out or golfing or whatever. And the other thing too is associating with, you know, people, I think like-minded, especially for business types. We don't hear a lot of people who understand what we deal with. We don't get a chance to talk to them because a lot of people may not. So I have a group of poker buddies who are business-minded, own businesses. And we call it our board meeting, our roundtable board meeting, you know, but we play every other week, and we've been doing that for about 20 years. And, you know, it's a chance for us to commiserate, to talk about things, about business. And, of course, we play poker. But yet that friendship that we have, we would, you know, do anything for each other. You know, we've been friends for years. And yet, if I say, hey, you know, I'm dealing with this at work, what do you guys think? I'm going to get 4 or 5 different opinions, some same, some different. And these are people that I trust. They're wise, they got wisdom, and they will give me candid advice. And I don't have to pay for it. That's the great part. Well, except for the chips.
The money that you lose in poker. Yeah.
But, you know, we all did that. We all take advantage, especially, you know, through the pandemic. It was like nobody knew what was coming, right? There was no rule book and no previous pandemic that I had been through. So we were, you know, whenever the governor made different statements, you know, we were texting each other almost every day back and forth what we found out. And if we're dealing with FFCRA or, you know, whatever the labor laws were, you know, I could ask them and they would have the answer because they talked to somebody. But having that group, that networking of core, you know, friends.
Very important.
Very important. So, you know, I don't think I could afford them all if I had to pay them for their advice, but I get it. And
they probably couldn't afford you either, Lowell. So.
Nah, I don't know. I'm the cheap one. I think,
Yeah. No, I just think that's super cool that you have just that group of friends. So, and I forget his name, but Michael knows the owner of Fire Mountain Gems too.
Stuart,
yeah. Back when I was working for Lithia.
Oh,
he was a client. Actually, our electronics tech, Kevin Waterman, his wife was like his very first secretary out in Cave Junction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and was with him for years.
Right.
Yeah, but he had a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the thing was he just like Band-Aids, and he drove that thing till it dropped.
Kind of like Les Schwab and his Jeep back
in
the day, right. No, he's
very nice person, though. Very humble, very down to earth.
Yeah, he definitely is, you know, stays off the radar, but you know, he's a good friend of mine, and probably, you know, I call him the Godfather, but he's, you know, his story, and it's not my place to tell it, but, you know, is amazing, and I respect him so much, and he's given me so much good advice over the years. I mean, you know, if he talks, I'm listening, I'm writing it down, whatever. So, and you know,
from a garage to what he's built is incredible.
It is amazing. That doesn't just happen. You know, people think, oh, you get lucky. No, there's, you know, in business, we have to make, in management, you know, we have to make hundreds, if not thousands of decisions every week. And those decisions matter. They accumulate into wherever you end up being. It doesn't just happen. So you get paid to make decisions at some point. And if you start a business, every single decision either helps you or hurts you. And so when you see somebody who gets to where they are, it's because they made a lot of good decisions. Mm-hmm. There's no, well, as they say, if you make good decisions, you know, the luck will come because you put yourself in a position to be lucky. Mm-hmm. So some of that, but it has to be good decision making.
Yeah.
Well, so you've been doing business in this town for 20 plus years now. 22.
22, yeah.
22. What advice would you give young business owners other than just stay hungry?
I think it's a mindset. And again, I come from a different upbringing, different background, in that sense, kind of a different generational outlook. So I always thought that was my one of my advantages, kind of maybe more like my parents or grandparents' outlook about, work hard and all this. And I think people forget that. We have immigrants that come to our country who work really hard in restaurant business, hotel business, and are successful. Why? Because they think they can, right? Because they recognize the opportunity. And so many people don't. They don't recognize that you can do whatever you want. Are you willing to pay the price is the big question. And there's some prices I don't think you should pay. You shouldn't sacrifice your health, your family, your friends, or environment or people, whatever. But if you're willing to work hard, you can probably accomplish just about anything. We don't have all this. We don't all have the same strengths and skill sets. But if you utilize the ones that you do have and you focus on it and you work hard at it, you can probably do anything you want. Are you willing to work hard at it? And I tell people, running a business is really easy. You just got to be willing to work really hard, put the hours in sometimes, and not everybody is, and that's okay. It's okay that not everybody wants to do what I do or what you gentlemen do. But if you are in business and you want to be successful, however you define that, then, it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of decision making, a lot of work. So that's what you do. And read Benjamin Franklin. I know I put one quote down, but
yeah, what is that quote?
Mind thy business, and thy business will mind thee. Mm-hmm. You take care of your business, and it will take care of you. A lot of people don't. They get complacent, as you mentioned, or I don't know. They're. You have to pay attention to your business, and that means your employees, your customers, your suppliers, everything, right? If you put the effort into it, it'll reward you. So I think that's my takeaway from Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Franklin.
He's got a lot of great quotes.
Amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even realize they're his.
Yeah. Google his, just on business. His business quotes, just the top 25. Live off of that for a few months and you'll do okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
You got to look at it.
I'm in that boat with.
And you'll probably recognize half of them that people have claimed to be theirs.
All the politicians use them. So
yeah,
reworded it. Yeah, interesting. I will have to go look that up. What do you think has been your most satisfying moment in business, and kind of where do you want to go moving forward?
A lot of business moments have been satisfying. Mm-hmm. Little things, that. I paid out the business pretty early.
Not a little thing.
Oh, no, that's not a little thing. That was big.
Yeah.
That felt really good because, I was still surviving, to be able to do that. And I've had mental blocks removed or mental surges, whatever you want to call it, along the path. And like in 2008, everybody remembers 2008, it was tough times.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to focus. In fact, I had to go off some boards to focus on my business. And I'd never been through something like that before. Been through 2003 different times that were tough, but nothing like that. So it made me realize a lot of things. And at that point, I realized, because I always wanted to be a nice guy, take good care of people. But the best way that you can take care of your employees is to run a good business. And I realize that. And the other thing is to demand excellence. Sometimes people feel bad if they say, okay, that's got to be better, or you really need to, step it up. Good people want to work in a place where they know excellence is demanded because they can rise to that and they feel good about it. So there was a mental shift. And going through that was very rewarding for me because I saw what it did to my business. It created this environment where my people flourished, my employees flourished because we were all demanding excellence from each other. They demanded from me, I demanded from them. And
it's a winning environment.
Yeah. People want to work for a winning environment. Mm-hmm. They don't want to work for the place that nobody thinks highly of. So that was big for me to create that thinking good people are okay with me demanding that we are the best. Our tagline is makers of the world's nicest name badges. I claim that because I think we do.
Yeah.
And so if you work for a company and you're makers of the world's mediocre name badges, nobody wants to be there. So be the best. And my point is that was rewarding for me to have that mental understanding, epiphany, whatever you want to call it, and then to implement that and then to see the results. Because like I said, I brag about my people all the time. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes people give me credit. No, it's what you create. It's what everybody who works there creates. So that's, it's not a little thing, and it's not even something you can point to really easily, but over time, creating that culture, as they call it, very rewarding, huge.
So I'm going to challenge you on that, because when I was in high school, our senior civics classes, there was only 3 of them. They would do the competition between the 3 classes. And what we would do is we would make restaurants, and we'd get, throughout the week, each class would get a day of the week, and you'd sell your products, whatever food you could get from around town or whatever, you'd get donations or whatever, you'd sell the food. And then whatever team had the highest profits at the end of the week was the winning class. That was one of the things. And so this was for our econ class. Right. And we named our class was just called mediocre. Yeah. And so we used the McDonald's M and just wrote mediocre. And that was like our company logo and our name. And we crushed the other 2 classes because we were just average. So.
So then,
well, when you said we don't set the bar very high, it's easy to jump over.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so I got a point on that, because I think everything in life, but especially business, is a formula. And I oversimplify things. My license plate is A because I believe in absolutes. It's never B, never C. It's simple, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a formula to everything. If you want to make money, there's a formula. And there's all these different variables that equate to the answer. If we miss one of the variables, then the answer is wrong, right? And so in that scenario, because there are a lot of businesses that focus on, I know it's a high school thing, but they focus on the bottom line, solely on the bottom line, and at the expense of their employees, their service, their suppliers, their community, whatever. And so part of the formula in being successful is that long-term outcome and effect and what that does. Because you can make a lot of money one year and lose it the next, So yeah, to my point is, it's like part of my formula in what I think is running a good business is that culture where my people stick around. Nowadays, especially, we got through this pandemic without really losing anybody. And that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my employees, but it meant a lot to me because, they wanted to work there. They're there because I want them there and they want to be there. And they stayed through it. They did amazing. But if you're losing people and you're having to hire.
And it's the same thing as far as you speak about your customer retention, but employee retention's even greater.
Especially now. I'm sure you know what it costs to hire people nowadays compared to 2.5 years ago. It's really increased. And that's fine, but you can't be losing people there every day because it costs too much to train.
Yeah. Robert Hodge, Siskiyou Corporation is a really good friend of mine. I worked for him for a few years, but one of the things that really attracted me to his company is his average employee was there for 25 years.
Right. I said so.
He had one guy who was his lead engineer, was sweeping floors 30 years ago, and is now his lead engineer. It's like he sent him to school and everything else, and it was very impressive. And it was the greatest environment I ever worked in.
And it matters. If there's high turnover, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Some industries are prone to that, but for the most part, if you have people who are sticking around, there's a reason, and it doesn't just happen.
That's probably, I don't know because I've never worked there, but it seems to be the same kind of formula for success for Dutch Brothers. They treat their employees culture, really well. Right. Culture, no offense, Travis, but they don't make the best coffee in the world. But it's culture and it's atmosphere. So
experience.
Experience. That's so.
Yeah, it all adds up. And how you take care of your people, and they have to know that you're sincere. There's a lot of places that put the show on, but their employees know, they don't back it up, or there's not much sincerity behind it, and you can't fool your kids or your employees.
Yeah.
It's like, so it does matter. And my VP, Jason, who's been with me for 18 or 19 years, I should know, and he started, sweeping floors, I guess, pinning badges in our case, and he worked his way up. Amazing VP, amazing manager. I'll put him up against anybody, and he's earned that. He's worked his way up. I gave him the initial hire opportunity. The rest of it was all him. And we have others like that who have moved up to the ranks. And so, if they know you take care of them and look after them, then they'll do a good job, especially good people. Don't hire bad people. I think that's, it sounds a little, I don't know, say elitist, but you're saying, okay, you're not good enough to work here, but you hire like-minded people. And in my case, they're the people who don't mind working hard, nose to the grindstone. They can have fun, they can talk, they can listen to music, they can have a great time, but they're working hard. I hire other people like that, because otherwise you have 20 people who are working hard, you bring the one in who doesn't, it's not going to work out. Somebody's got to go at that point. So
yeah.
Yep.
So where do you go from here?
I would like to continue to grow my business, because I think I have a few more years left in me.
No, you only got one more ACL before you blow that thing out.
Well, I blew the one twice, so I could probably go through them a few times.
Oh, yeah, so you got to
I want... I'm in pretty good shape. I'm in pretty good health, I should say. Shape-wise, I'm working on that. But I enjoy activities. I enjoy my toys, my motorcycles and quads and other things. Boating. I like to be active, and this is an amazing area to live. You got the river, you got the lakes, you can go to the ocean. Nothing's too far. So I want to continue to be healthy enough to be able to enjoy that lifestyle. And I think that's what we all want to do. So my business is important to me. I have amazing people who run it on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully we can continue to find ways to grow. It's hard. Nowadays you're competing against, bigger companies, not necessarily Amazon, but a lot of companies that move product. And so as a small company, to be able to come up with the ability, the website, ease of use and all that, it's tough. But again, we keep doing what we do. We have to find ways to do it within our budget. And so I'm sure we can. I would like to, travel a little bit more at some point. I haven't done a whole lot the last few years. I don't think a lot of us
Join the club.
I know. So, I would. I got...
Any place in particular that you want to go?
I've never been down to the tropics, the Fiji. I know there's some that are good to go to and others that aren't, but I'd like to go down there, someday and just enjoy.
Maybe a honeymoon.
Yeah, maybe that could happen.
You're welcome, Melissa.
Yeah, have to find the proper place for that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You have grandkids now too?
I have one who I've been able to hold, and another one that I think it's official. I can say it now. That is coming. So one grandson and one granddaughter on their way. So
cool.
It's cool. It is cool. I thought I was a little too young to be a grandfather, but I'm like 10 years past the average first-time grandparent.
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. It is a whole different thing, right? I mean, everybody talks about it, but I loved raising my kids. I enjoyed every aspect of that. But with the grandson, it's definitely a whole, it's your kid's kid. It's an amazing thing. So
yeah,
everybody talks about that, and I won't show you all the pictures, but
yeah, yeah, cool. Well, Lowell, this has been awesome, man.
Yeah,
really appreciate you doing this. You're a really interesting guy.
Strange is what I usually hear.
It's strange, yeah. Maybe Dave thinks that, but it's not. No, I think you're incredibly interesting. There's a lot to you. Humble, intelligent. Just everything that I've heard about you is true. So
if I could just get that in writing, that would help.
Yeah.
So I can show people.
Well, it'll be on the internet.
It'll be on the internet. It's locked in now.
Yeah, it's even better than set in stone.
Even your
yeah.
ventriloquism.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna get that on tape. Yeah, one of these days we're gonna get that on tape. So.
It might cost a lot. That's the only problem. That's gonna take a lot for me to do. So.
I know some pretty wealthy people that might like to see that.
Yeah,
so.
maybe.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, again, just thank you for doing this. So
Thanks for the invite.
yeah, no, it's been a pleasure.
Been fun.
Yeah.
Right on.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hometown Hustle Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. And for more information or to connect with Daniel and Michael, check out www.hometownhustlepodcast.com. We'll see you next time.